we're about to begin chapter 3. And chapter 3 in our book is called Ratios and Rates. So these are some new terms that we probably haven't heard before. All right, so our first few lessons are on ratios. And ratios are a comparison of two or more quantities or amounts. Okay, so we're comparing two amounts of something. Okay, we're comparing two amounts of something. So let's give an example. Okay, so let's see. I have a bunch of coins here. Okay, and if you look at my coins, I have some quarters and I have some pennies. All right, so I'm going to compare the amount of quarters I have to the amount of pennies that I have. So I could say I have 1, 2, 3 quarters, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pennies. So I can write that as a ratio as 3, 3 to 7. Okay, if I'm talking about my ratio of quarters to pennies. I'm just shortening that. Ratio of quarters to pennies is 3 to 7. I have 3 quarters to my 7 pennies. So I can write my ratio in one of 3 ways. I can write it with this word 2, 3 to 7. I can write it with a colon, 3 to 7. Or I can write it out as a fraction, 3 to 7. Okay? So here's the 3 different ways I can write my ratio. 3 to 7, 3 to 7, or 3 to 7. That's my ratio of quarters to pennies. What do you think my ratio of pennies to quarters would be? What do you think my ratio, what if I was going to do my ratio of pennies to quarters? Oops, it'd be good if you could see what I was writing. Pennies to quarters. Well, in that case, I would need to put my pennies first. And again, I have 7 pennies, so I'd write that as 7 to 3 because pennies is first in my word ratio. Pennies is going to be first in my number ratio. 7 to 3, 7 colon 3, 7 to 3, or 7 to 3 as a fraction. The nice thing about ratios, when we're talking about ratios, we're going to leave our fractions improper. So if I have an improper fraction, if I have 7 pennies to every 3 quarters, I'm going to keep it as 7 over 3, even though 7 is greater than 3. So that's nice because I know in our last chapter we would change our improper fractions to mixed numbers. We're not going to do that when we talk about ratios. We're going to keep it improper like that. So that is how to do rates and ratio, well, just ratios. That's your introduction to ratios. I'm going to have you do a couple practice problems with our next video.